We are live.
Hi everyone.
Hello all. Welcome to the podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Hayley.
And this is the Speed Mooting Partners in Crime podcast.
Episode
56.
56.
So let's name the episodes for starters. Mm-hmm. So we normally name our episodes after Formula 1 or something to do with wrestling or sometimes something to do with Everton or maybe Liverpool. 56 is a bit of an anomaly really. There's not much related to it.
Okay.
No current driver with that number. Nothing really linked to wrestling of any significance I can think of. So what I did was I scraped the barrel here and searched for the answer to who won the 56th ever Formula 1 Grand Prix. So let me give you some background and then give you the answer.
Will I be able to guess this person?
I doubt it.
No. Had you heard of them?
Oh yeah. Very famous.
Oh, okay.
Just to put it in context, so the 56th ever Grand Prix was the 1956 German Grand Prix. And the winner, well, he was the record holder as he had the most world titles of anyone before a certain Mr. Schumacher came along.
I don't know if this guy was before.
Oh, well before our time. He was driving in the 1950s, so...
I wanted to say Ayrton Senna, but that can't be right then, can it?
Yeah, he wasn't even born back then.
Was he before or after Michael Schumacher?
Oh, well before. He was driving in the 50s.
No, I'm saying Ayrton Senna.
Oh, Ayrton Senna. Oh, they kind of overlapped. Oh. So to put that in context, so it's kind of like Hamilton and Verstappen now. So Hamilton was going obviously well before Verstappen, but Verstappen's careers kind of overlapped, and Schumacher and Senna were the same. So Senna was going in the 80s, but then Schumacher's career kind of overlapped with him a little bit. So they were going at the same time.
Okay. Really famous from the 50s.
Argentinian.
No.
Unless you're into Formula 1, you wouldn't know.
Go on.
It's Juan Manuel Fangio.
Never heard of the guy.
Yeah, 5-time world champion.
And he won the 56th Grand Prix.
Yeah, driving for Mercedes-Benz. No. He was driving for Ferrari at the time.
Ooh.
This is episode 56, the Juan Manuel Fangio special.
That's a mouthful.
I had to say that one very slowly.
Yeah. Well, welcome guys.
Welcome along. So yeah, that's that out the way. That's that name.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Wednesday afternoon. We've just come back from a gym session, haven't we, Hayley?
We certainly have. I have completely lost track of the days, as I always do after a bank holiday weekend.
What the bank holiday does to you, and particularly when it's a double whammy.
Yeah.
So let's talk people through our bank holiday weekend.
Okay.
So Friday.
I can't even remember what we got up to. What did we do Friday?
What did we do Friday? Not a great deal, really. Not a great deal on Friday. Just a bit of work, really. I think that was it.
We sorted the house out, didn't we?
Yeah, kind of sorted the house.
We sorted all the spices out in the kitchen, bought a new spice rack. Very, very mundane, but necessary.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah, it was good. It was quite therapeutic, wasn't it?
I think I said to you at one point, we're getting old now, and this is like our Friday activities, and we were having lots of fun.
Yeah.
Sorting through spices. So
that's Friday.
That was
Saturday.
Friday.
So we had a nice long session in the morning with Father Terence, didn't we?
Yep.
Where he kind of talked us through what was going to happen in the Easter Vigil, which we'll move on into a little bit.
Yeah. Should we give people a bit of context first?
Bit of context.
If you're new here.
Yeah, if you're new, you won't know what we're talking about. But Hayley was converting to the Catholic Church from the Anglican Church.
Uh-huh.
And I was completing the set because the only sacrament I've not completed to this point is confirmation. And to give you some more context, we thought it would be nice for John to finish that sacrament and for me to cross over to Catholicism because we're getting married in a Catholic church in October. That we are.
So yeah, we had
a nice session in the morning with Father Terence, didn't we?
I had my very first confession.
Oh, that you did, yeah. First confession for you.
I was so nervous. Just like I don't know what the pressure was to like give him a good confession. Like I was just thinking, oh, he's not going to be impressed, or he'll be like, that's not a great sin to confess. Give me something else. Of course, that just didn't happen and will probably never happen in a million years, but I put so much thought into my confession. And it was actually quite easy.
It's not bad, is it? You know?
Well, I don't know if easy is the right word because it's important and I feel great afterwards.
This is the nice thing about being a Catholic. You can confess, and it takes the weight off.
Yeah, I think it's bizarre though doing it to a priest that you know, especially because we've been going to class to prepare for the sacraments, haven't we, with Father Terence for months and months now. And yeah, he might be behind a wall with a window and a curtain and all the rest of it, but you still know it's Father Terence.
Yeah.
So it's bizarre. It'll probably take a few of those for me to get used to it because we don't do that in the Anglican Church.
No, you don't, do you? You don't.
But yeah, we spent the morning in church. Then we went
from there.
Nice lunch.
Oh, that we did. Yeah,
that we did.
Yeah. I was about to jump ahead now. Forgot about that.
We went for lunch.
Nice little lunch with Alan because my brother's doing the same. He was going through the classes and went through his confirmation.
Yep.
Then after lunch, we went to a car dealership.
Yeah.
And we've actually been talking about this since last summer because we went to a car festival, didn't we, at Santa Pod. So for those who don't know, Santa Pod is a drag strip. And I remember coming away from that festival and pretty much the quickest, well, not the quickest car, but the car that was really dominating was the BMW 135i. And I came away saying, yeah, I'm going to get myself a 135i, yeah.
Once again, for context, John drove a 2008 Astra.
Yeah, 1.6.
1.6. And John is a big car guy, and before he had the Astra, he had BMW, Audis, you know. But
and never rubbish ones, like actual.
Oh, brilliant cars, super fast, all the turbos, all that good jazz. And then during COVID, when the car prices went through the roof, John wasn't using his car, obviously, so he sold it for a profit. Got this little Astra that was supposed to, just hold him over. Ended up having it for years and years. And I kept saying, and it's probably been said on this podcast, you need a new car, you need a better car, you shouldn't be driving this tinny thing, you need to get one of your fast cars again, you love your cars, let's get one. And he finally got one.
So, yeah, no doubt Hayley's going to pop some photos of it right here.
Yep.
So, for the first time in my life, I've now got a saloon car. I actually went, I didn't get myself a 135i, I got myself a 330d. So, to put that in context, a 6-cylinder, 3-litre turbo diesel. So, they're so quick.
Yeah, if you don't speak car, that just means it's very, very fast.
Yeah, it's fast, but
explain it in terms of the horsepower, because that's how I
understand. So yeah, so with this, it's 260 brake horsepower. But the nice thing, so the horsepower is fairly big actually. But what's also good is because it's a diesel, the torque figures are just insane. So with a diesel, you just get so much torque, and that's the pulling power of the car.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's what makes it
so
fast.
much torque.
So much torque. The chassis twisted coming off the line.
If you know what film that's from, comment
below. Yeah, comment below. But that's the nice thing about getting a diesel with a big engine. Just the torque figure is crazy. But the nice thing is, see, because I've talked about getting a 135i, and don't get me wrong, a 135i's got a bit more power. Probably not as much torque actually, but a bit more power. But your fuel economy is not going to be great in a 3-litre twin turbo petrol.
And for someone who spends half his time on the road going to and from court.
Yeah, fuel economy is important. So the nice thing with the 330d is you've got all the power that you'll ever need, but also you return. I mean, even on rubbish journeys, if you were doing round town, you're still going to be getting 40-ish on the motorway. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane, the fuel economy. And also, it's a nice luxury car, isn't it? So you got all the nice mod cons that you need in there. You got the leather seats. And most importantly for me, it's a BMW with rear-wheel drive. Well, I was looking for a while to try and get the right car for me because most people spec them with X-Drive, which means 4-wheel drive. Now, for me personally, nothing wrong with 4-wheel drive, but if I wanted 4-wheel drive, I would have bought an Audi. If you're buying a BMW, you want rear-wheel drive. Front engine, rear-wheel drive, that's the setup for a BMW that you want, and that's what I've got.
I'm guessing you'll need to borrow my car though when it's snow or ice on the roads.
Yeah, when it's snowing, when it's snowing, you don't want it. To put it in context, Hayley's got a nice Audi TTS line, so.
But mine does have the 4-wheel drive, or the rear wheel drive. Which one is it?
Yours is front wheel.
Front wheel, yeah.
Yeah.
So that means it's less likely. It's better in the wet.
Yeah, it's better in the wet and the snow and
where
everything.
yours is more likely to skid.
Yeah, so long and short, finally got myself a new motor and I made up with it. It's a nice car.
That was Saturday day.
Yeah, that was Saturday day.
Saturday night, we ended up back at church.
Yeah.
For a 2-hour Easter vigil. Vigil. Blooper reel. A 2-hour Easter vigil.
Yeah.
And then we completed all of our sacraments. So there were 7 of us in total, which is like a record.
Yeah.
I think last year there was only 1 person. So one of us was being baptised, Liz.
Yeah.
3 of us were converting from Church of England to Catholicism, and then another 3, you were all completing your confirmation, weren't you?
Yeah.
So we all did communion together. So first communion, which was really fun. We had to eat the bread, drink the wine. Then it was confirmation, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where we all had to have sponsors. So it has to be a Catholic, obviously, who's been through all the sacraments. So obviously being Church of England, I didn't really know any. So you had your dad.
Yeah.
I had your mum. Alan had his wife. So we managed to find sponsors. You did ask Father Terence, didn't you? Can we share sponsors? And his response was, well, it's kind of like sharing a curry. You can, but it won't be as good. He's so funny, Father Terence. Yeah. So yeah, that was it, wasn't it? Communion and confirmation.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Because we'd done confession earlier that day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really long, but it was probably the best mass we've ever been to.
Oh, it was a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah, so they light a big candle outside, and the church, it's not dark, is it? But it is. They don't have any lights on, and then throughout the mass, they light more and more candles, don't they? And eventually turn all the lights on as they celebrate Jesus conquering death and going up to heaven and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really nice service. That was our Saturday. Sunday.
That was Easter Sunday. You went home, family, didn't you?
I went home to see the 10 nieces and nephews, to give out various Easter eggs. Just have a little bit of the Crumble Home chaos for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And then in the night time, we all went for a meal, didn't we?
We did indeed. It
was a shame because obviously it's Easter Sunday. You're supposed to have a roast dinner. The pub didn't have any roast dinners left, so maybe this is a new tradition where the Dubs all eat lasagna on Easter Sunday. Because I think every single one of us had a lasagna.
We did. Yeah. And what's funny is, so in this particular pub we went to, they served garlic bread with the lasagna, and Freddie, Alan's wife, who is Italian, she refused to eat the garlic bread at the same time as the lasagna because she said it's
Italian blasphemy.
Yeah.
Like, no garlic bread with lasagna.
No, sacrilege.
Which is crazy because it's the best addition to lasagna.
Yeah.
The absolute best.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was dipping my garlic bread in the lasagna.
So was I.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them the story about the salt and pepper?
So what's funny is, you got your little shakers on the table as well. So you got your single hole one, obviously for salt, and then one with multiple holes, obviously for pepper. And I pick the one up with the multiple holes on to put some black pepper on my lasagna, and it's showing up white on the lasagna. I'm thinking, this is salt. I'm going mental because I'm thinking that someone's played a joke here and put the salt in the pepper dispenser. and Alan goes, oh right, I'm going to check which one's which. So I said to him, well, hang on, Alan, let me pour some on the side of the plate as well, just to check which is which for you. And I pick up the salt one just to see if they've done it the wrong way around. No, that's white, that's salt. Pick up the pepper dispenser. Let's double check this, and I put it on the plate, and it does show up. But it was actually black pepper. It was just for whatever reason, as it went on the lasagna, it appeared white.
Yeah. So if anyone's listening, and maybe you're a chef or you just know a lot about food and how it interacts with other foods, why does pepper, when it hits lasagna, come out white?
Yeah.
It's a good job we didn't complain to the waitress.
It is.
So that was Sunday. And then Monday, we took the car for a nice
car
little
for a
test
nice
drive.
spin, didn't we? Yeah.
Weather was rubbish, but we didn't let it spoil us. We drove all the way to the lakes, and I think was that our first holiday together, or was it just a day date we did very early on? We went to the...
No, I think Chester was the first one we went to, wasn't it?
Chester was the first holiday.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm
At
sure
Christmas
it was the
time.
lakes, you know.
Oh, was it, mate? Yeah, it could have been actually.
In like November. Anyway,
Whenever, yeah.
very early on, we went away for a few days to the lakes, and we found this little pub in Kendal called Romney's. If you ever buy Kendal or the lakes, or you know Kendal, we would highly recommend it.
Oh, yeah.
It's the cutest little... Well, it's not really little.
No, it's not. It's a big one, isn't it?
It's the cutest place. The food is amazing, and we were like, let's go. Let's just go there. So we drove all the way, got stuck in the Easter traffic, but it was fine. Had a delicious lunch, and then drove all the way home.
Yeah.
It was nice.
So that was that. And sprinkled in over the weekend. Well, I was going to say I watched, but we watched Wrestlemania.
I actually, for my sins, guys, didn't quite get into this one. So John watched a little of it downstairs in the living room, didn't you? And then I was quite invested in the John Cena and Cody Rhodes match. Spoiler alert, we will be talking about the results of Wrestlemania. So fast forward for about 10 minutes if you don't want to know the results. And John was like, oh, I'll go watch this upstairs actually, and you can watch your own stuff. And I was like, no, leave it on down here. I want to see what happens. I want to see if John Cena wins.
Couldn't believe you were so invested in it.
I know. And if you watched last week's episode, I predicted that Cody was going to win. John predicted that John Cena was going to win.
Yeah.
And here comes the outcome, guys. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
I was right.
John was right.
So that's it.
It has to happen sometimes.
Yeah. And to be fair, I've been wrong on most things, to be honest, so it makes a change for me to be right. But yeah, John Cena winning his 17th world title, so he's broken the record.
Mm-hmm.
Ric Flair's now demoted to second place, isn't he, with his measly 16?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, well done to John Cena. So yeah, it was a good match, and it was nice to see him break the record. Who knows what's next for John Cena, though? Who
knows?
I mean, he suffered an RKO, didn't he, on Monday on the Raw after WrestleMania?
Who's that guy again?
Randy Orton.
Yeah.
You know too much.
I know far too much. RKO from out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Send help, guys.
Send help. And then night one, we'll move on from wrestling. We're going to get onto Raw very, very soon. Night one, Paul Heyman turned, didn't he?
Yeah, it was like the betrayal episode. Everyone betrayed everyone.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the reason I wanted to move on to night one and Paul Heyman, so he was the kingpin in this, didn't he? He was the one that helped Seth Rollins win. But I just think Paul Heyman, he's a good person for us to talk about on this podcast. And I was listening to him talking recently. So for those who don't watch, he's basically a manager. He's the one that escorts them down to the ring, and he refers to himself as an advocate.
Oh.
Right. He was the wise man to Roman Reigns. He was the advocate to Brock Lesnar. And I often thought, has he got a background as a lawyer? And he doesn't. But what he said was, his dad was a big personal injury trial attorney in the States.
How cool.
And he says that whenever he introduces his talent, whoever it is, so, Brock Lesnar, for example, he goes, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, obviously in his New York accent. And then he'll go on and he'll do this big introduction for whoever it is. And he says where he picked that up from was watching his dad doing trials and introducing himself to the jury. And I think Paul Heyman is one of the most polished public speakers in wrestling. He's a brilliant public speaker generally. So Google him, try and take the chance to watch Paul Heyman speak. And I think you'll learn so much. Props to Paul Heyman. He's a brilliant public speaker.
And there you go. We linked WrestleMania to law.
We did it. Anyway, they've heard enough about wrestling. They've heard enough about BMW 330Ds. They've heard enough about church. Let's move on.
So, just before we do, we hope everyone else had a nice, well-rested, long Easter weekend as well. What's next, John?
What is next? So, I think we've had some questions, actually.
Oh, good.
So, you had a message, didn't you, Hayley?
Yes. So this was this isn't a question per se, but I was in back and forth with somebody on LinkedIn that was just asking me for some advice generally. She's about to finish her LLB and was asking for advice on general bits and pieces. But one of the things that she said within this back and forth, which I just thought worthy of note on this podcast, so she hasn't got much legal experience yet.
Yeah.
And she's had advice from a few people, very bad advice, saying, you know, just fill up your CV, basically budget, and say you've done work experience and various bits and pieces that you haven't done. So for anyone out there who doesn't know this, never, ever, ever lie on your CV or lie on your application forms. I mean, learn from Mike Ross. It never ends well.
No.
It never ends well. You know, at best, you get embarrassed. At worst, you know, you get struck off.
Yeah. And it's happening, not to dwell on anyone's misfortune, but we've seen a few examples recently of people, making mistakes and then trying to cover up those mistakes through dishonesty, not even qualified yet and being struck off.
Yeah. The thing about this industry, you've got to uphold the law. It's underpinned by very, very strict behaviours, and the most important is honesty.
Yeah.
So, you could murder somebody, but you're honest about it, and they might still let you be a lawyer. If you lie about something, there's no forgiveness, is there? And
no.
You might think, oh, I'll just say I shadowed a barrister and I'll name one. What if 10 years down the line that barrister goes, I remember everyone who shadowed me and they didn't, and you're called out for a lie? It's just not worth it.
It really isn't.
Not worth it.
And the problem is, once you start with one lie, you've then got to cover it up with another lie and another lie and you've got to remember what it's honest. Well, I'm not advocating for lying whatsoever, but I'm just saying from a practical point of view, that's another problem that you've got. But
and you don't need the stress of living with that waiting to be found out. I mean, no, definitely not. Going back to this person, it was about, needing experience on the CV. There's opportunities to get experience. You don't have to resort, to lying. Things like really going and watching court. There's no application form for that. No one can stop you doing that. Watch some really great cases. Try and have a chat to the barristers and solicitors. I mean, I went to court and watched John last week.
Last week. Yeah.
And there's always opportunities in between court hearings when there's a legal advisor there, there's people there, and they're having a general discussion. There's nothing to stop you then just saying, I'm a law student, I'm just here watching. Has anyone got 5 minutes to have a chat with me? You say, no, we're about to come on. But if you wait around, once court's finished, I'll have a chat with you. Like, they were all really friendly. I guarantee if I was a law student that day, I would have done that.
Someone would have had a chat with you, wouldn't they?
Yeah, someone would have gave me 5 minutes of their time. Or there's volunteering things you can do. Citizens Advice Bureau, we both volunteered there.
Yeah.
They're crying out for volunteers. Support through court. They're always looking for volunteers. There's stuff you can do to fill your CV. You don't have to resort to lying.
And the other thing we've also said before is, even if you've never had a formal VAC scheme or mini pupillage, literally, your town, wherever you are, is going to have so many law firms. Write to them all.
Mm-hmm.
Write to them all. It might take some time. Or I'm saying write to them all. Write to as many as you can. And someone will say, even you just say, I'm a local law student, I'm interested in this. Can I have a few days shadowing you? You'll find somebody that will take you on.
Yeah.
And, it takes time to build experience, but that's kind of the way that we went about it. We had to go round the houses, round the back door, etc., to try and think about clever ways to try and build up that experience. But over time, it literally just does take time to build up that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a bit of a snowball effect. So once you've got one, that goes on the CV and people start thinking, oh, okay, yeah, this person's about something, they've got one. Yep. Then the next one comes and the next one comes and the next one comes.
Yeah. My CV, by the time I got my training contract, was full to the brim of experience. Not one was a formal vacation scheme.
No.
Didn't get one
of those.
Probably
me neither, actually, yeah.
Didn't get one of those, but, had tons of experience from the things that we've mentioned. And, don't forget part-time jobs counts as experience as well, the transferable skills you pick up. Yeah. I worked right through. Well, I actually started a part-time job before I finished high school. Turned 16 in February, had a job in the March, I think.
Yeah.
And I worked right through till I got a paralegal position. So that was great experience. That was on the CV.
Yeah.
That helps during interviews and stuff. Of course it does. But yeah, moral of the story, guys, never, ever, ever lie or feel like you have to lie. Don't do it.
No. It is genuinely not worth it. Not in a profession that's all about integrity and a profession that's as small as this.
No.
This video is brought to you by Speed Mooting. We are an organisation that help aspiring and junior lawyers. We run online and in-person advocacy and mooting competitions. We do online advocacy and public speaking training, and we run lots of other events to assist people on their legal journey. To learn more, visit our website, speedmooting.com.
What's next, John?
What's next? Well, let's have a look at some questions that we've had.
Okay. So while John is looking up the questions, I will just explain to our listeners, this is a segment on the podcast that we call Ask Speed Squad. We will answer your questions on any topic whatsoever, insights into the law, advice on pieces of advocacy, advice on legal experience, or if you want to know a little bit more about a particular area of law, we can answer all of your questions. Nothing's off limits. And to send your questions in to us, the best way is, well, one of the ways that people use most is email, info@speedmooting.com. But we also take questions on our social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. Just drop us a message. Or if you see our post, drop us a comment and we will answer them here on the podcast.
Well, this one's slightly different. So this is actually coming from a junior lawyer. So most of our questions tend to come from aspiring lawyers. So I'm going to answer this person's question from a junior lawyer point of view, but then take it one step further back and apply this to the context of aspiring lawyers as well.
Okay.
So the question is, how can young lawyers start developing sound legal judgment, especially when they don't have much experience yet? Okay, very, very good question, because whenever you start out, you're always going to second guess your own judgment. And it's going to sound like a bit of a cop-out answer, but the reality is it's just all about reps. The more cases you do, the better your judgment becomes. And what you'll probably find is, particularly if, let's say it's, you're doing litigation work rather than advocacy. And, you need to make a decision on a case. Are you going to pursue it? Are you going to take this decision on the case, etc., etc.? You'll probably find at the outset, every decision you make, you'll second guess. You'll phone a colleague, you'll phone someone more experienced, you'll email someone, can I just double check this? And that's absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with that. It's a good way of building up your experience. Always ask for a second opinion on something. But what you want to do is you want to get yourself to that position whereby, you start making those decisions. And I think the reality is it's about getting that confidence to go, well, do you know what? I know what I'm talking about with these. I've dealt with enough of these cases. I can make this decision. I can execute this without needing, the stabilizer wheels, as it were.
Yeah.
Don't take a sort of, a cavalier attitude and make silly decisions on something that's way outside of your wheelhouse, outside of your experience. But as I say, it's all about repetitions. The more of these cases that you do, the more you build up that experience. But certainly, don't be afraid to speak to colleagues.
No, definitely not. I imagine as well, I know this as well, when you're very junior, when you're training, when you're newly qualified, most of or all of your big decisions will be checked by a supervisor anyway. So there will be that support there until A, you're competent, and B, you're confident enough to start making your own decisions. And when I used to do things like that, like complete like a merits assessment on a claim before you issued and stuff, it was kind of like, reminds me of the days, when you're in school, like show your working out in maths class. So you'd break down the law. This is how the law applies. These are the cases that support it. These are the cases that don't support it. And then, if it's ever questioned, or if a supervisor looks on the file, they can see, there's a file note. Hayley's done all the research. Hayley's done this, this, and this. This is where the conclusion comes from. So showing your working out in that way and setting things out in that way just used to give me the confidence that I've done all my homework properly. And I can see why I'm choosing to issue this case, etc. And then I know as well there's a clear trail of my thinking on the file.
Absolutely. Well, it's very similar at take the CPS for example. So as a senior Crown prosecutor, you make charging decisions. So it's similar to are you going to issue a claim? are we going to pursue this case?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to either apply the full code test if it's a case that's been fully investigated, or if it's an urgent decision, you apply the threshold test. And so obviously you've got that test that you'll be popping in there, but then there was generally sort of a framework that you would work through. So you're talking about the different aspects of this, and it's like you say, showing you're working out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just coming back to what I was saying before in terms of, don't be afraid to, speak to a fellow colleague. What I would say is, at least do your homework on the case. If you need to do some research beforehand, do the research. You need to do some reading around it, so that when you do go to your colleague and ask for, for that advice, asking for that second opinion, you can at least say, well, I've looked into this. My thinking is X. I think the answer is this. I think this is a good case because, I think this is a poor case because. And so at least that way you've shown some thought and you're not just going to someone else. What's the answer?
Absolutely. And when, you were talking about it in the context of speaking to a colleague, in the context of speaking to, a supervisor or someone more senior, they 100% will expect you to do that. And in fact, I've had it happen to me at a very junior level. If you don't go to them with that attitude, they'll challenge you and say, well, what do you think?
Yeah.
You go look first and then you come back.
Yeah.
Some strict supervisors will do that. They won't be very impressed if you just come to them and go, oh, I need to make this decision. I don't know.
Yeah.
You need to say, I've had a think and I've looked at this case and this case says this, but then this case says this, so I'm a bit stuck. I don't know which one is strong. As long as they can see you've done some work, you've put some thought into it, they'll be much more impressed and much more receptive to giving help. And that's not, them being awful or them being super harsh. They're building up your ability to make your own decisions and, to build up that sound judgment. So they will want you to have a go yourself, because how else will you learn?
Yeah, precisely. And then taking it a step further back, because many of the people listening might be students, might be on the bar course, might even be non-law students. So, it's the same principle as what we've been talking about with actual lawyers. At the start, you might find making legal decisions difficult. Let's say you've got problem questions, let's say you've got analytical type questions, and you need to talk about how the law applies in a certain scenario, or, ethical legal decisions, what have you. You might find it difficult initially, and it's that same principle again. The more you do, the more reps you put in, the more questions you answer, the better your legal reasoning becomes. Mm-hmm. So what I would say is, practice these questions that you're likely to encounter on exams, in coursework, etc. So you're getting used to making those decisions.
Yeah.
When it comes to your tutorials, have a look at what, because normally, tutorials work the same way that mine did. You normally have reading, and they'll give you 4 or 5 questions to think about. Really think about them so that you can, discuss those in the tutorial, and your tutor will either say, yeah, oh, you're on the right lines there, or no, you're wrong because. But at least when you're getting that feedback of no, you're wrong because,
mm-hmm.
you know where you're going wrong in your legal reasoning, and that will help you going forwards as well.
Yeah.
So the same principles apply there.
Anything else?
Well, the next thing I thought I'd talk about, because we've been talking for some time now, is Advocacy Club this week.
It's a good one, guys.
It's a good one. So
next week, you mean?
Well, next week, sorry, yeah. It's within 7 days, that's why I'm saying this week, but it's 29th of April when it's taking place, the Tuesday. You can still sign up if you want to.
Absolutely, and I would recommend that you do.
Yeah, certainly, because it's all about family law. It's submissions advocacy, and it's the type of advocacy that you're going to encounter very early on. Whether you're a solicitor, whether you're a barrister, it's a perfect piece of advocacy for a junior lawyer. So good chance for you to really get your teeth into something practical. And what we're covering is the application for an ex-parte non-molestation order. So in actual fact, I don't think they use the word ex-parte anymore. I think they call it without notice.
Yeah.
And the idea is this is an application for an order that's sought in a domestic context. Okay. So the court's power to grant a non-molestation order comes from Section 42 of the Family Law Act. And then specifically ex parte orders come from Section 45. So I'm just going to read you a snippet from Section 42, and it says, in determining whether to exercise its powers under subsection 1, which is granting the ex parte order, the court shall have regard to all the circumstances, including any risk of significant harm to the applicant or a relevant child, attributable to the conduct of the respondent if the order is not made immediately. So first things first, if you are taking part in this particular exercise, look at the materials you've been provided with. So you've got the application form itself, you've got a witness statement from the complainant, you also have an exhibit to that witness statement. So read through those carefully, read through what the complainant is saying, particularly about the conduct, particularly about the respondent who is her ex-partner. So look at what she's saying about his particular conduct in this case, and look at what the risks are of harm that she's identifying, what she's talking about with his previous conduct. And really you want to be explaining to the court as to why it is that there's a need for this order to be granted immediately. She can't be waiting to have an on-notice application. Why it is that needs to be put in place immediately. So look at what she is saying in that particular statement. The second limb that the court will look at, whether it's likely that the applicant will be deterred or prevented from pursuing the application if the order isn't made immediately. So once again, have a read through the statement, read what she says, and what you want to be persuading the court is whether there's any reason that if this is delayed for an on-notice application, whether that is going to have an impact on whether or not that individual is likely to come back to court again. So whether there is, as the statute says, any potential deterrent there. So once again, look for what's said in the statement and formulate that within your submissions. And then the third factor for the court to take into account is whether there's any reason to believe that the respondent is aware of the proceedings but is deliberately evading service, and that the applicant or the relevant child will be seriously prejudiced by the delay in effecting substituted service. So once again, what we're looking at here is whether there's any deliberate action from the respondent that might delay this if this were to be a full on-notice application. Once again, look at what's within the statement itself and formulate that within your submissions. Okay. Wow. So once again, myself and Hayley, we are not experts in family law, and that's simply my reading of the statute and how you might want to think about going about your submissions. Yep. But ultimately, that's the law that you're looking to apply there. There we go. And sorry, go on. I was just going to say, so if you listen to that and you are not yet signed up to attend our family law session next week, get yourself to our website and sign up. speedmooting.com/advocacy-club. Absolutely. You can join us to have a go at that application. And what follows next, John? Do you want to tell everyone? Oh yes, we've got two very special guests joining us. So we have two family law practitioners who will be basically filling my shoes at the end of the session, because at the end of, well, I was going to say every single Advocacy Club session, but I've actually missed two where you filled in when I was recovering for an operation. So not for the first time ever, but we do have two very special guests that will be filling my shoes to give you an explanation as to talk about this piece of advocacy and maybe explain how they might go about that piece of advocacy. So should be interesting, should be fun, and no doubt I'm going to learn a lot at this session as well. Oh, I can't wait. I did a LinkedIn post about this earlier. Even though my background is civil, I love the different areas and learning a little bit more. As John says, we've never done family yet, simply because neither of us felt qualified enough to teach family law. So that's why we've enlisted. We had a solicitor help us write the problem, family solicitor. One of our guests is a solicitor and the head of a family law department, a law firm, and the other is a family law barrister. So we were fairly well equipped to bring you this session. But yeah, I love snippets of other bits and pieces of law. It doesn't make me wish I had done something different, but it's just nice to experience. Yeah, it's good to experience. I mean, you're into commercial property. I like crime. I don't think that's ever going to change. No, but it's really fascinating. So even if you're not thinking that family law is for you, it's still a great one to experience, just because you're going to have lots of different opinions and insights, because there's so many of us going to be there. John and I will still be there as well, so we might throw our 2 cents in now and then. Oh yeah. You never know, I might throw something in. I'm sure you will, John. I'm sure you will. And everything that you're picking up from them will be transferable into any area of law. So
if you think you want to be a criminal practitioner, still well worth you coming along to the family law meeting. So we hope to see lots of you there.
Definitely. Well, you might notice as well, thought I'd throw this in, we're both in the Speed Mooting merch again. I'm in the well-worn now Advocacy Club shirt. Hayley with a Speed Mooting jumper. We definitely need to release merch at some point.
Yeah, we will do.
It's coming. Don't worry. It'll come at some point.
We've got some big things coming your way. I think we've been saying this every week for the last few weeks. Once again, and you'll know us if you're a regular listener, when we launch something new, we often do build up to it for a while because we get to the precipice of launch and then we go, it's not quite perfect, wait. We'll do it next week. We'll do it, and it's very nearly ready. Some of our very loyal members have already had the inside scoop to what's coming, so you know who you are. Thank you very much, guys, for helping us trial certain things.
Indeed.
That's all we'll say. But yes, we've got bigger and better things coming for you guys, and I'm sure merch will follow that.
Oh yeah. I think that brings us to the end because we've been talking for quite some time, haven't we, Hayley?
We certainly have.
So we hope you've enjoyed listening. I've enjoyed recording the podcast. Have you enjoyed recording it, Hayley?
I've enjoyed recording it, John.
And if you're still listening at this point, give us a comment saying 17 times.
Who's that?
John Cena's just won a 17th world title.
Oh, right, yeah. I knew we broke a record. I forgot what number it was. 17 times.
17 times. So, yeah. So that brings us to the end. Well, as ever, if you have any questions, send us an email, info@speedmooting.com, drop us a message, comment, whatever. If you've got a couple of seconds spare, give us a rating. So 3 little dots on Spotify, 5 stars, it really helps us. Any comments about the show, feel free to comment, and take care of yourself, and we'll see you soon.
What about subscribing on YouTube?
Oh, absolutely. Do you know what? Yeah, we actually have a good following on YouTube, and we get lots of views of this on YouTube.
We definitely do, yeah.
And of course, that's why we record this, so people can watch us on YouTube. So please feel free to subscribe. That massively helps us. Drop us a comment on YouTube. Share the video. Share it far and wide. Share the good message that we're sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, does bring us to the end.
I think so. Until next time, guys.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Enjoying our videos? Then we'd be super grateful if you could take a moment and subscribe to our channel.